So you're turning 65. Well, happy birthday. I understand you want to know what to do when you turn 65, so I want to make it perfectly clear and be able to assist you. Now, I realize some of you watching this may not be in good health. My dad at 65 wasn't, came to my graduation, and then within 6 months was informed that he had colon cancer, and then within a short period of time, he passed. So I want you to realize, don't think about now, think about your future. You don't buy your car insurance after the accident, do you? Of course not. So why would you consider doing the same thing, taking a gamble on your life, on your loved ones? So let's go over a few things that you need to do after you turn 65 so that you're in best position you can be. All right, first thing, of course, is are you going to retire? A lot of people are turning 65 these days, and some of them are wanting or choosing to work, A, for the income, B, to keep from going insane, probably, C, to have the financial income, or, yeah, just whatever, because they've been used to, or you've been used to a life of activity. And now, what do? You don't have to go back and forth to work. You don't have to get up if you don't want to. You can go anywhere you want to. You can stay up late if you want to. So, first thing to do, like I said, is consider, are you going to retire? If you don't retire, all right, and you stay working, you make more on your Social Security. So it only makes sense if you want to make more money in retirement and stretch your money as long as you live instead of trying to worry about whether you have more life than you have money, go ahead and work. You'll get more out of life. You'll be more productive. You'll enjoy more. Plus, hey, you can tell the boss, I don't have to be here, and see what they say. That might be interesting, actually. The other thing to do is start considering Medicare. Now, Medicare, as you probably heard over the years, especially if you've dealt with parents, is primarily the medical plan for seniors. That's state issued, federally regulated. All things considered, do you go Part A? Do you have to have Part B? Is there a penalty if you don't sign up for Part B? What is Part C? What is a Medigap? Those things are important to know. And then there's Part D. If you don't sign up for a prescription drug plan, you can still have a penalty. It's crazy, but it can happen. So you need to be more informed, involved in educating yourself to what Medicare provides, what it doesn't provide. And like I said, you don't buy the car insurance after the accident. So you got to focus on things like home health care, recovery care, things that Medicare doesn't cover. Things like you turn 85, let's say, and that's just a random number, but you need help getting around the house. Okay, turning 65, the family said, oh, we'll be here. Yeah, okay. That's noble, but these days, with inflation and everything, are the family going to be able to be there and not have to provide for their own? Are they skilled, for one? Seriously now, they may live 400 or 500 miles away. They may live 50 miles away. And then they could live across the town and never see you. So, there's a lot of things. Well, the family's going to say, hey, I'll be there. I'll take care of you. You don't have anything to worry about. But what happens when Judy has to take care of her baby and ask for a favor from Billy, or Billy has to work and ask for a favor from Judy, and then it goes back and forth, and the card begins to start. You did it last time. No, you did it last time. I did it for a favor. It's your turn this week. Sound familiar? Probably does. Next thing to do is, again, consider your out-of-pocket expenses in considering Medicare. Meaning that with out-of-pocket expenses, you, depending on the plan that you have, it's kind of like the old George Foreman muffler routine or the car sales routine. Do you want to pay a lot in premium, or do you want to pay at the end? In other words, you have all the insurance coverage you can, and so you have the least to pay when you go into the hospital, or do you want to not have any extra monthly bills and shoot the craps to figure out what lucky draw you get and whether or not you're going to have to pay $4,500, $10,000? You know, there's a possibility, depending on the plan, that you could have to pay that. Now, if you've got a money tree in the backyard, no worry, right? I understand. But most people, let's be real, don't have any kind of savings. What do they say? A large amount of America is living paycheck to paycheck. So if you have to go to the hospital unexpectedly, whether you have a heart attack or stroke, or you have to have a gallbladder removed, or you have an accident or something, how are you going to pay for it? Well, that's where knowing what Medicare covers, knowing what your out-of-pocket expenses and things like that are important so that you protect yourself. Would you rather pay the premium and be covered, or take a chance and not pay anything and then have to come out of pocket or on a payment plan for the rest of your life? Another thing to consider too is, I already mentioned it once, but it's the aspect of long-term care. Now, I don't mean that you have to go to a convalescent home and sit there in a wheelchair and wait till the last day. No, more people are choosing to stay home these days and take care of themselves. But they still need things like custodial care. They may not be able to ambulate. They may not be able to feed yourself. You may not be able to get up and take care of your physical necessities in that inner office, if you catch my drift. What are you going to do if you need somebody to clean your house? You can't get up and you can't get around, so the house sits there. Somebody's got to clean it. Will that be you? Will that be your family? Or will you need to pay somebody to come in? And then what about your bills? You know, somebody has to pay those. They've got to be made. Now, in my situation, my little sister took care of my mom. But going back to the family issue, she forgot that there were bills to pay. And one of them was a storage bill, which, lo and behold, had some valuables in it. They lost a storage shed because the bill didn't get it paid and lost the valuables. Do you want that to happen to you? Probably not. And of course, you might say, why would you store such things in a storage unit? Yeah, there again, family. Need I say more? Anyway, so consider long-term care. Like I said, I don't mean the nursing home, but there are assisted living facilities. There are senior living facilities for people 55 and older. All these kind of things are there. You may need to take advantage of them at some point. So you need to consider, how are you going to pay for them? Social Security, I've already talked about. If you work till you're 74, you get 130% of your total income. If you retire at 65, 66, or 67, whatever the date is or age is that they set by that time, you get 100%. If you retire at 62, you get something like 70%. Is it really worth it? It depends. For some people, it's a major change in money. All right. Another thing to do is get your legal documents in order. You have life insurance. You know that with inflation, life insurance is going up somewhere between 3 and 5% every year due to the cost of inflation. You currently an average cost of a funeral is 10 to 12,000 if you go through the regular process, depending on the benefits that you want to put in there. But it can go up to double that amount in the next 20 years. And now by that time you're 85, are you going to have that taken care of? You're going to buy life insurance? Are you going to have anything left over at today's amount that you have in the pocket to not only pay for everything, but give your loved ones money? Those are things to consider. Then there's the old saying, okay, maybe not exactly the old saying, but where there's a will, there's a way. Now, I need you to remember this. Where there's a will, there's relatives. Okay. You'll remember that one and remember this speech. I can pretty much well guarantee you. But does your will have everything in it that you want to be able to take care of your family with? In other words, okay, you may have savings, you may have assets, you may have land, you may have portraits or any kind of stuff like that, valuables of that nature. If you don't have a will that states what has to be done, the state gets it. And then the state can sit there and play around with it and eat up your savings in legal fees. So your family may not get what you intended. So have a will and consider a power of attorney. Also catch up with your Health Savings Association. You have money in the bank for that, for such needs as taking care of your health? Consider that. Also, your catch-up contributions for your savings, your 401k, your IRA, your Roth IRA. In the latter years, you can maximize your contributions to help with your savings. Another thing to do too, again, I mentioned my dad at the beginning, maybe you should have a health check. When you're ordering or thinking about getting some kind of medical coverage, do you have a history of cancer in your family? Do you have a history of stroke or heart attack? These are things that, hey, you might have that problem. Or if it's like the situation with twins, they might skip a generation. So you might be that lucky second generation. Things to consider. So, you again want to make sure that you have all that caught up. And then the all important thing too is have that conversation with your family. What do I mean by the conversation? Well, at 65, things that I've already talked about. Are you going to take care of me? Do I need to find a person that has skills? What do I need when I need? Or do you have family? And there's a lot of people that now, through multiple divorces, are distant from family and they live by themselves, or their loved ones have passed before they turn 65 and they then have nobody to depend on. So these are things to consider. Last but not least, is all the other considerations. Are you going to have more money than you have life, or more life than you have money? Are you going to be able to stretch that 401k, that pension plan, things like that over the rest of your life? What you can do is give me a call. I'll be glad to go over things like this with you and help you prepare, answer your questions for you. So just keep that in mind, and you should get my information in the bio or just PM me, whatever. I'll be glad to get out in touch with you or get in touch with you about it. But getting back to this savings thing, you've saved up a lifetime. Now, you probably have heard by now, there are a lot of pension programs, I should say the insurers for the pension program, especially some of your big companies like your airlines and things, that have gone or have started to file or had filed for bankruptcy. With the inflation, with COVID, we see a lot of companies closing up. So is that money going to be available? Or are you going to take a loss on your money? So if you take a loss, what you plan for X amount of time, is that going to be available? And, back in the day, you used to plan for 20 years because you might only last 20 years. Now people are living 30 and 40 years longer. Last report. Some of them has backed down a little bit on that. But you still have to figure you've got to pay your bills. You can't just sit there. You've got to eat somehow. You've got to pay for that room you stay in if it's not your house. A lot of people are renting. Where's that money going to come from? And will it be enough to keep up with inflation? You figured your annuity or your long-term care, if you had one, based on an average of changes. However, with the latest economical changes, will that be enough? Cost of living considerably higher. Cost to rent up several double-digit percentages. Cost of food, cost of fuel. Are you going to be able to buy, say, an electric car when you turn, by 2030 or 2035, whatever it was, or 2050, that they're saying they want all electric? I mean, that's another conversation for another day, but if you're forced to have to do that, then can you afford it? Or are you going to have to go to the cow and buggy or horse and buggy or, well. But now you know what to prepare for. Again, I offer my services. Just reach out to me. My number and information should be under my profile wherever you're watching this from. Also, my you can always PM me through the same sources, and I'll be glad to go over this. Be glad to answer your questions. And I am licensed in multiple states, so feel free to reach out if I can be of assistance. Remember me and remember retirement concerns, because I know you've got retirement concerns. That's why I created this channel. That's why I do what I do. Retirementconcerns.info is my website. Retirement Concerns Store, if you need to purchase anything, instead of going to the store, fighting traffic, or taking a chance of your life, going to some of these places, things like that. It's there. And there's other sources too: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, a whole slew of them I don't have time to go through, or honestly, I can't remember. So I want to thank you for watching this, and hopefully you have a good retirement, but more importantly, you're more prepared for that retirement. Have a good day.